but somehow I just didn't think you'd want to listen to just me talking at you for an hour. So I have asked the members of our board and our committee chairs to help me share our accomplishments from the past year. We couldn't have done it without them. So we're going to start off our year in review with our Vice President, Bruce Stern, and we're going to ask him to update us on our membership. So take it away, Bruce.
Well, welcome everyone, and so glad all of you could join us here. I want to give you an update on our membership. We started the year with 60 active members at the end of 2019, and as of now, we have 72 active members, including 2 student members. And what I want to do is I want to take just a couple of minutes and go through and read off the names of the people who joined this year. And I will also give you where they had provided in their application some information about the genres that they are particularly interested in. I will give you some of that information as well. So we'll lead off with Carol Hannum, and she does poetry, short stories, prose poems. We have Mark Brown, who does nonfiction and fiction. We have, oh, by the way, if I mispronounce someone's name, please excuse me. This is going to happen. Linda Olasite, historical fiction, women's fiction, and fantasy. Kendra Bruno. I'm sorry. Donald Kennedy, humor, bio, nonfiction. Nina Apostadiro. This is a student member, poetry. Richard Bodine, poetry and literature. Johnson Kahili, fiction and fantasy. Tamara Williams, poetry. Lahua Wells, adventure, nonfiction. Karen Sellers, poetry, creative nonfiction essays and lyrical essays. David Emerson, scripts, screenplays, surrealism, dark comedy, historical fiction. Pat Evans, fiction, literary, women's, mystery. Yufeng Shen, Frank Riley, literary fiction, romance, mystery, action adventure. Maliha Avdek, and I've used her writer's name or pen name. She is a member from Bosnia and London, and our first European member. And she does literary fiction and children's books. And we have Jamie Brooks, nonfiction and essay. So I want to welcome you all to the Writers Guild, and we look forward to having you and hearing from you and being part of our activities. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Bruce. That takes us to next up on our agenda, our treasurer, Bob Lupo, who will give us a financial report for the year. Take it away, Bob.
Hi, hello, and Happy New Year. Well, unlike the country or the planet, we, Hawaii Writers Guild, had a good 2020 and ended the year in sound financial shape. We began 2020 with $2,393 tucked safely in the Guild's checking account at American Savings Bank, ASB, ended it and began 2021 with $3,479 in the bank, an increase of $1,086 or 45% hike year over year in gross receipts. The increase in cash gross receipts was driven primarily by $2,239 in dues payments by 56 members, including 16 new members, as well as generous donations totaling $300 from two guild members. Other revenues totaled approximately $255. Total 2020 cash gross receipts of $2,794 were offset by $1,708 in aggregate operating expenses, driven by $801 in annual dinner expenses last year, for the days of parties, and $272 for expert advice on the Guild's tax-exempt issues related to what comprised appropriate benefits to members in compliance with IRS regulations for 501c3 organizations. Expense levels last year were lower than any fiscal period since the Guild was founded in 2017. COVID-19 was a primary inhibitor in operating expenses, as was the Guild's newly implemented policy regarding member benefit activities at Guild-sponsored events. When the Guild captures revenues while the Guild captures revenues in various ways, donations, refunds, rebates, members paying dues is by far the dominant source of cash gross receipts, accounting for 80% of 2020 inflows. But generous donations have always been an integral piece of the revenue pot as well. In fact, the Guild's pursuit of its ultimately successful 501c3 campaign was funded by $2,500 in donations between 2018 and 19, which more than covered the ultimate $1,765 spent to achieve that prize. And I should mention that the Guild's new tax-exempt status puts us in position to access the world of charitable grants and strengthens our ability to further our goals and achieve wider appreciation in the community for literature and arts. Two small but interesting side notes to 2020 inflows were, first, a June 2020 $135 refund from Rushmore, the law firm that shepherded our tax-exempt journey, and second, the Guild's satisfying receipt of $9.97, it all counts, last November from Amazon's Smile program, rebates granted to tax-exempt organizations. All in, the Guild ended 2020 in sound financial shape and has begun 2021 with a steady flow of renewals from 6 members totaling $240, as well as a $50 donation to cover renewals of our 2 student members, including a reserve for future student members. Hence, the Guild's ASB operating balance as of today, January 16th, is $3,769.18. So please keep those membership renewals coming. They're our lifeblood. And that's all I got, folks. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Bob. And speaking of spending or making money, this is one of those places where if you have some ideas for us, how we can make more money or spend some of our money in a reasonable way, you can add that to the chat function. We'll be taking a look at that in a little bit here. But in the meantime, Bob had mentioned our 501c3 status. That was one of our goals that the board set for the year 2020, and one of those goals that we achieved. So I'm going to ask Diane Ravel, our secretary, to please talk about that a bit with us.
And I was gonna share screen. I made some slides to keep me on track. So here we go. And let me go from the beginning, if I can get there. Okay, so this is the topic, the transition to 501c3. And the Guild was started, as Bob also mentioned, in 2017 by a group of writers in Kamalela. And so they started it up. Ray Pace and his wife Julia, I know, were 2 of the initial officers who worked on that. We were organized as a state of Hawaii business. The activity was between March and May of 2017. Got us a IRS employee ID number, basically our tax ID. And then we registered with Hawaii as a basic business and received our GET number. And then, as Bob mentioned, we had worked with attorneys from Rushmore. Sean Nakoa was the name of the one we worked with. And she provided us drafts of what would be suitable for articles of incorporation that we would need, as well as how our bylaws might better conform to what we would need. And we did a lot of rework to get them in line with how we were operating. We filed the Articles of Incorporation via the attorney in November of 2018. And then we developed, for compliance with some of those rules, a mission statement, conflict of interest policy, and a non-discrimination policy. And we received our IRS letter on January 30th, dated January 30th of 2020, that granted us that federal tax exempt status. The letter, when I picked up the mail, it was actually Valentine's Day, so we got it as a Valentine's Day. And if you want to read any of those particular documents I referenced, they're on our website under Guild Business. We had an ad hoc committee that worked on this, and it included Joy Fisher, Cece Johansson, myself, Brune Stern, and Bob Lupo. Joy was our liaison with the attorney because she has a law degree and experience with law. And Joy and I were the main editors for the two primary documents, the Articles of Incorporation, the bylaws. And then we got feedback from the committee and anyone else who wanted to comment. And then Bob, as treasurer, kept track of the related budget and expenses. So I've outlined them here, but he kind of went over that a moment ago, so we'll skip ahead. There are some downsides to being a nonprofit, although we decided they were okay, we were willing to go with them. One is we need to avoid benefiting individual members versus doing public service. And so two activities that we used to sponsor but changed to avoid an issue were the pop-up bookstores and then other events like the Cherry Blossom Festival and such, where we had table for book sales. So those still go on. Louise, as events director, kind of lets us know when those are going on and what members are participating, but they are no longer sponsored by the Guild. We also needed to have a conflict of interest policy, which we do, and then we're not allowed to do political activities, thank goodness. And so that was that. Why become a 501c3 nonprofit? Bob also mentioned some of these, but it improves recognition for the Guild within the community. So for contributions to literacy and culture, especially related to the written word. Often necessary to apply for grants, and our member from Bosnia, she has raised a potential cultural project that we might be able to apply for a grant for in this year via the U.S. Embassy in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And then the tax benefit to those who donate, and it can encourage donations. And then, as Bob also mentioned, we're enrolled in the Amazon Smile program, and we have got back, he said, $9.97 so far, and every bit helps. And we were only enrolled in that partway through the year, so there might be even more next year. And then also, as a nonprofit, one of the very good resources out there is the Hawaiian Alliance of Nonprofit Organizations, or HANO resources. And we have used those. They have good examples of things like conflict of interest policies and others. So we have made use of them and have joined them at a nominal fee. So that is that. And do you want me to roll on to the next thing, Diane?
Why not? Because you are on the agenda up next, so you can explain to people how this is going to work, and they can get ready to win big prizes.
So what we have here are a spinner where I've entered everyone who RSVP'd. So I'm not sure everyone is here, and I can't readily change that on the fly. I counted 23 people here versus the 31 that RSVP'd. But I give this a spin and it'll land on somebody's name. And I did remove my name as a spinner. I figured I should do that. Oh my.
Oh,
Diane. So I'm going to remove her so she won't get the next one. But for that, we have a group of books. And the very first one for the spin is A Jog Down Memory Lane by Jim Givens. So that will be going to Diane. And we're going to do 2 spins per break here. So Pat Dunlap Evan is the second winner. and I'll remove her from contention. And for her, there's a set of books. There's Whitewater, Red Walls, Rafting the Grand Canyon, which is by Carol McMillan. And also One Good Ear, Poems and Prose by Michael Foley. And that's it for the Sinner right now.
Okay, great.
To unshare here.
Great. Thank you very much. So that takes us back to us recapping highlights from the year. And one of our big highlights from this year was our participation in YouTube. And I'm going to turn it over to Isla to talk about that to folks.
Aloha, everyone. Oh, this is so exciting. I'm so happy to be here with you all. I really missed the gathering, and this is just too much fun. So Diane Wilson and I started the YouTube channel for the Hawaii Writers Guild in response to being locked down during the pandemic, because some of us are extroverts and need to interact with people. And so far, I've produced 21 episodes of Inside the Writer's Studio, and some of you have been my guests. And Diane has produced 11 episodes of Write On. And so far we have 53 people who have subscribed to the channel, and that's pretty good because that's almost every member. But we don't actually know who. And our videos have been viewed over 2,000 times. How exciting is that? Most of our guests have been members, but recently I interviewed 2 non-members as a way to reach out, because we are a nonprofit. So just serving ourselves is not necessarily the way to go. So I interviewed a couple of people who live on Hawaii Island who are writers, and they'll be coming up soon. Let's see. I plan to continue to produce Inside the Writer's Studio in 2021. I may cut back to once a month. Right now, I have a few, and as long as people want to participate, and I encourage you, if you haven't, please put it on here and chat. Please get in touch with me. It's fun. I have a good time with everyone. It's been very rewarding for the people who are getting to be on the videos. Let's see. One thing I've done is I've taken the video and posted it on one of my Facebook pages and boosted it, which means I paid like $10 or $20 to get it out to more people. And I feel like that's something maybe the Guild wants to look at, rather than me doing it, that we post it to the Hawaii Writers Guild Facebook page and budget, I don't know, $10 a month or something to do that. We can also promote it through Google, through the YouTube channel. So just to increase the Guild's exposure, we can do it right in Hawaii. We can do it anywhere in the world. Yeah, for another video thing, which is to have something like we had in person, pop-up poets, but instead we have a person who either reads their own piece or has someone else, like an actor, actress, read their piece. And they would be short clips. They would still need to be produced, but they wouldn't need a host, and they wouldn't need Zoom. People could do it on their own computer. So that's in the works. If that interests you, write it down. Let's see. Anyone here who has a YouTube page, if you have a YouTube page, we can link. I don't think we can link to you if you're making money, but you could send people to the Hawaii Writers Guild page. And it's a real common practice so that we all get more exposure. And if anybody wants to be more involved in YouTube, please let me know, let the board know, write something here, I'll jot your name down, or be in touch later, because it really is the way of the future. So let's go there, everybody. That's me.